Ponderay. It took me about 5 times. There's 5 iterations of Ponderay. No one here, unless you're from the Northwest, knows how to spell Ponderay, I promise you. If you spell it right in the comments, it's because you looked it up. And I don't want to hear you say that you didn't, because you did. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm Anna. This is Cooper. Today we want to talk a little bit about community. And community is such an important part of our lives. It's been something that's been an incredible blessing to us. And I've been so thankful to have the people brought in around our lives that have poured into us, that have, prayed with us, that have done we've had so many great experiences with. So I'm so thankful for that. And I think just like being able to talk a little bit about what that was like transitioning from where we were. Like we grew up in Washington State, spent a lot of time, 24 years in Washington State. And then suddenly you're pulled to a new place. Transplanted into LA. And I think that LA is such a, from the outside looking in, it's such a daunting city. And honestly, it is. We really don't know. We've lived in LA for 8 years now, and I don't know LA. You think of all the, every street name in your city growing up, every single little pocket of things. It's just so big that it's unrealistic. And then you throw kids into the mix and it's even more unrealistic. Yeah. So I think that, coming into LA, it was very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And as we have lived here, it's, we've been able to kind of get a grasp on our bubble, yes, which has been really nice. But it was not an easy transition. And I think what's also tough is, we move here. I have an automatic, when we both do, but I specifically have an automatic community. I am spending significant amounts of my time around people for work, and it's people are you have a job. Yeah, exactly. You have everything and it's a very specific kind of job. Collaboration and community is a huge part of it, and just the camaraderie and just brotherhood. I feel that is such a huge piece of a successful football team. So I have that automatically, but I think what was overlooked, and I wish I had done a better job and just was aware of it when we first got here, was you came with me. Obviously, we're married, so you come with me to this place. I'm gone for most of the day, and it's you're trying to figure out your place in a brand new place where you know nobody. And there's not an easy way for you to get to know people, because you aren't going to, you don't know anyone that I'm working with. Yeah, you definitely have to seek out community, and I did that through working at Lululemon. I did that through, going to the gym and doing workouts and, meeting the other wives and girlfriends on the team. But it's way more of a proactive approach than just passive, because, a lot of the guys, you're in the same season of life. You obviously have this shared passion and joy, and it can be really difficult. And just, this was the first time that in college, we had college and, college life, and then you move to a new city. And for us, it was also the first time that we lived in a house, the first time that I was, actively homemaking, I feel and really trying to make home a sanctuary for you and just a place to come to. And just when we have family come in, in college, they're not staying at our apartment, they have a hotel and they're, coming and they're seeing us, but it's more them coming to be with us. They're not coming and staying in our space. First time being able to host. Yes, exactly. The first time hosting, the first time actively orchestrating what game day looks like, and what game day looks like not just for me, but for all of these, people in our family and friends. And so just that whole transition. And then you're also okay, well, I have all this stuff going on, but I also have a day to day where I need to meet and be around people and have my own identity also. Yes. thinking back on that, I do wish, we've talked a little bit about in the past on this podcast about how caught up in things like that first year, and you're kind of just in your own world, and how, because of the ups and the downs of that year, how we kind of were in, like, I had kind of created my own world of stuff and having difficulty. What's the balance of bringing stuff home with me and being able to share that with you, and the balance of being able to live life together. And I think in that first year, there's so much change that's happening.
And just so much pressure and unknown. That is something that we talked about also. But it's the implications. I think that is something that's so unknown in your first year of like, what are the implications of success and failure in my job and in my day-to-day? And I think that, was a really difficult thing also, like the pressure of that.
Yeah. And figuring out what that was. And I think our view of it was, at least my view of it at the time, was the highest of highs and the lowest, like the implications were going to be huge swings. And they're not like, there's highs and there's lows, just like any other job, any other life. There are highs and lows, and you just have to navigate them. But I do wish, like, going back to that I had been more aware of the environment that you were in, and just the situation that you were in, and being able to that year of life, I just wish we had done more. I'd done a better job of living that life together and living that life with you, and not feeling like it was, I was trying to figure out my stuff and you're trying to figure out your stuff, and we could just figure it out together. I think that's one of the things, looking back on that, we learned a ton going through that, and can look back on it now and say, man, it's so much better now. How much better is doing things together and sharing those things, and letting the main thing be the main thing, and knowing that outside of our environment, outside of that, is not letting that control what's happening with us.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people in this industry talk about and kind of relate to each other in, is just, especially wives and girlfriends of players on the team, because you don't realize, it's very surprising and shocking how lonely it is, how hard, especially like your first years are, or if you are traded or come into a new city and a new team, just finding your place. And also, as someone who, I'm supporting you, I'm not in the building. I'm not going to be on the field. Like, I am your support. And so figuring out, like, okay, well, what does that mean for me and who I am and my identity in that, and being able to work through some of those feelings, but also just like have you as a support to me in that, like, loneliness also. And like you were saying, just being able to be there, and
yeah. And that's where I think it's just gotten so much better, is what we've always known and what we've always believed and how we've always lived is, you are my best friend. And it's such a blessing to be able to go through life and know, like, I wake up next to my best friend, I go to sleep next to my best friend every night. And realizing that, and then understanding, like, this is what it is. This is what the important piece is, and this is where my mind needs to be. And knowing that all the other stuff outside of this happens to us. But like I said, this is being able to go through life together with your best friend is the ultimate blessing.
Yes.
And, and I just wish that year would have been so much more fun and so much more of a positive experience. Not that it wasn't positive. We learned so much from that. We still had so much fun going through that year, but just it would have been so much better if we had that perspective. If I had done a better job having that perspective of how we handled that.
I think something else that we talk about too in that first year, and just like finding ourselves, finding, our identity through that, is also like, you step into this new role, into this new city where you don't have, you don't have prior relationships, but then people see you as this new, this person who, you are an NFL player. I am the wife of an NFL player, which we've never been seen that way before, ever, not to our family, not to our friends, not to people that we know who know us, who are just like, oh, you're Anna and Cooper, so you have these other, just, I don't even know how to like explain it, but it just, you are like, this is not who I am, but you're treating me as if I am this person that you have already created in your mind.
Exactly.
And so being able to find authentic relationship within that, it was really hard at first, because you're like kind of wading through this, like, are there, preconceived notions about who we are just based on what you know about us, outside of actually knowing us?
Yes.
Being able to find yourself through that too.
Yes. And like you said, being in this place for the first time, our roles are like titles per se have changed, and people have constructed this idea that they know us. And that's really what you're saying is like people all of a sudden think they know us before we've ever met. Yeah. Right. And that's a hard thing it's just a weird thing. It's not natural. It's like you meet someone, you say, hey, my name's Cooper. And they say, I know. And they, okay, well, what was your name? What I mean? It's just the interactions change. If you're not aware of it, you just like the interaction suddenly becomes very abnormal for us. Yeah. So you it's like, well, why does this feel so weird? It's like, well, because you think you know me and you don't. Yeah. And it's like, and now I don't get anything from you. I don't get any reciprocation.
Right. You already have in your mind a box that I fit in your mind. And like, there's not relationship there. You know, it's not it's a figment.
Exactly. And it becomes really hard now. It's like we don't know anyone and we're trying to figure all that stuff out. And suddenly like you're at restaurants and you're out doing things and these interactions are taking place. And like this just feels different. It just feels weird. It was hard to find genuine and authentic relationship. Yeah. And then the worst thing that happens is you start putting your guard up and you start withdrawing and drawing into yourself because you're like, this is uncomfortable. This feels weird, and
it's difficult.
And we're trying to figure out how do we want to deal with this now? Like we've never been out in this situation. Like how do we deal with date night and people coming up asking for pictures in the middle of a date night? How do we want to handle that interaction? And you're trying to figure all that stuff out on the fly. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, man, someone does come up and is like, maybe someone is coming up and is authentically just, wants to talk to you, but like you had just had the weirdest thing happen to you ever. Yeah. And you're like so thrown off. You're like, I'm so sorry. Like it becomes a negative interaction because this person now thinks that you're a terrible person because you didn't interact with them. But it's like, you don't know what just happened about 5 minutes ago here. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to get out of here right now. And so that was weird. That was a weird thing to try to figure out. But man, like I said, we've been here for a while now, and the community that we have, and then also just being able to navigate all this stuff is like, man, I feel like we're in such a better place of being able to have a radar for that stuff. I think you have a really good innate feel for people, and your intuition, I think, on understanding people and motivations and things like that is something that I rely a lot on as well. And so, that's just been something that's been fun for us to walk through. And ultimately, like, we want to love people wherever they are, and being able to ultimately be like, hey, we want to be a light for people. Yeah. And find ways to make these really weird interactions still be a positive thing for people.
I think that authenticity is kind of like our biggest thing, and being able to have like real authentic relationships. Like we desire to actually like know people and to love people and to have people love us and love our kids and just be able to have like a community and support, and that really came with kids. I feel like, there was this like prayer that I would continue to just have, like, Lord, give us community, give us people that we can just like do life with, everyday life, where it's like you have community through football, but we've been with the Rams for 8 years, which is such a blessing.
Yeah,
but
it's very rare.
Yes, it's so rare. And you have friends that come and that go. And while it's beautiful to have like friends all over the league, it's really hard. But yeah, we didn't have like authentic community until June was in preschool, and we met, some of our best friends through that. This is like happy, not sad.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what's been really cool, is that a lot of these relationships have been born out of the friendships of kids. And like, is there anything more innocent and pure than just a couple of kids out on the playground and becoming best friends? No. And it's like, because of that, you just are then like, okay, well, I guess we need to get to know these people's parents, because like our kids are together all the time.
And thank God their parents are cool and like amazing.
They're actually hip and jive.
They're wearing the khaki pants, baby.
They're doing it.
No, but it honestly is so nice to have like just see the relationships that your kids have, and like, that's so cool to like watch them build these relationships that you're like, they're going to know them for the rest of their life, you know, and to just like see that like the beginning of that. And then as it grows, and then to authentically love hanging out with their families and, you know, to have older siblings involved and younger siblings involved. And we have 3 boys, and most of the families that, you know, we have been in community with through, you know, June's school and just like meeting friends of friends, they all have kids that are kind of around our age. And it's been such an answer to prayer. And I am so thankful for that.
You know, I think the thing that we've kind of discussed is like, you know, where do you want to, if you have the choice of, you know, where you're going to raise your kids, and, you know, you're finding a community that you want to be a part of. What is important, and like go back and forth. Like, do you want to go out somewhere that you have space? Do you want to have just not see people around? Like, you want to have just open range exploration, trees, run around out there? Or is it you come closer to a city, probably lose the space, but you have the activities. You've got so many things that you can go do, and things you can get to quickly. You know, like what does that look like? And like, I know we've talked back and forth and gone back and forth, and this is like our question that we ask ourselves over and over again. You know, like the positives and negatives of each of these things, and there's so many of them.
Yeah, and I think that, like I was saying about LA, how it's such a massive city, and we, you know, the proximity to, you have at your fingertips anything that you could want to do in basically the country. You know, there is every possible activity for your child in LA. It might be 2 hours away, 20 miles down the road, or it might be 20 minutes away, you know, but I think that's hard. It has become like a paradox of choice in like, okay, what are we going to put our kids in?
It's an economic term.
It is an economic term.
But yeah, it is hard to choose the thing. Like, there's so many things. Anything that June says he wants to do, we can't be like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, like he wanted to do hockey. I mean, we just got him some roller skates, and that quickly faded because he was not about learning how to rollerblade. Yeah. But, you know, like that, we could have put him in hockey. Yeah. You know, there's hockey 40 minutes away from us, you know.
Stuff everywhere.
And so it kind of is hard. You know, we grew up, I mean, a tree in the backyard. That was, you know, that's
what you need for the day. Like, today I'm conquering this tree.
Yes. Yep. And so it's going back and forth of like, okay, when, you know, the time comes where we want to like really put down roots, and this is where we're going to be for, you know, our kids' young lives. Do you go to the city that has everything at your fingertips, but you might be in the car for 70% of the day? You know, or do you go somewhere where they can be outside and playing 70% of the day for 50% of the year?
Yes, exactly. So if you know, this is us unsolicited asking, send in your recommendations of premier communities around the world, because we want to know.
Shot in the dark.
Just send it over to us. Like, that would be a great one. What is the best community in the world? What has all those things? Because there's somewhere in the world, it's like this. I want to walk out my house onto a lake with a gondola out the front door that goes up a mountain, right? So like,
but also I want to have the best restaurants.
Best restaurants nearby. I want a big flat area for a football field.
My kids to play. Some trees, exploration.
Yes. I also have great climbing trees, cypress trees. Great climbing trees.
Activities.
So many activities. What else?
Great weather.
Yeah, we can't. It needs to have all the seasons, but only when we want them. Yes, or send them in.
What's the movie where the guy's like in the fake world, and it's like the social experiment? And that sounds very like that.
I've never seen
maybe
this.
If we just sign up to be a social experiment, we can have everything that we want.
I don't know how that works with children. It'd be tough. Even with the grandparents. It's for a trial run. Okay.
90% of it is for our kids.
We want to find the spot. Find the spot. There's a spot out there that does all the stuff. So send it in.
Speaking of being on a lake, though, walking out your back door onto a lake.
Yes.
We were able to spend some time in Idaho this summer, which was just so needed and beautiful and amazing. Mountain Lake.
Beautiful. Beautiful place up in Ponderay. It took me about 5 times. There's 5 iterations of Ponderay. No one here, unless you're from the Northwest, knows how to spell Ponderay. I promise you. If you spell it right in the comments, it's because you looked it up. And I don't want to hear you say that you didn't, because you did. But it was beautiful. We loved it. It was so much fun. And gave us after great stories. The lake is cold for a lot of the year, so it's cold. And this brought us.
Also, we're having some issues with the dam, which made it colder than normal
and stuff. But if you follow us on the Instagrees, we did document some of our explorations up there. But it brought us to a hard thing. There's a hard thing that happened. It was June's idea to go to the lake house. June really wanted to go to a lake house for his birthday for the summer, and we're like, deal, we'll do it. So we get up there. We're counting on the boys love swimming, absolutely love it. So they're gonna be in the water. They get out there and the water's very cold. For us, super hot out feels so good to jump in. Where it kind of takes your breath away for a second, but then it's just super refreshing. For kids, obviously, that's not their cup of tea. But June wanted to jump in the lake so bad, and he's crying. He's so upset. And we're like, buddy, why are you upset? Tell us what's going on. And he's like, I really want to jump in the lake, but I can't. I'm afraid. I'm scared. And it brought him to the point where he's just so sad. And so it has this question, fear, and why we let it play a role in our lives. And, I think there's so many things that people go through life and they allow the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of letting someone down, keep them from going after things. And just like June was so upset because he wanted to do something so small as jumping in the lake where you knew he was going to be fine, right? We're right there with him. But he wanted to do it and he just couldn't get himself to do it, and he did. He ended up overcoming it and jumping in, and you dunked him in the water, and it was great. But it was man, there's so many people living in that place who don't ever leave the dock, right? And they're stuck there, and in their own way, they're that kid crying on the lawn, man, I want to do it, but I just can't. And man, I just wish there was a way to, you can't reach into someone and speak to their subconscious, but if there was a way to get someone to step out of that and say, it's well documented. The men in the arena has been well documented, and it's been talked about a lot. There is something about whether people are going to give you crap for it or not, whether people are going to comment poorly on it or say whatever they want to say behind their computer screens or, whatever it is, there's always going to be some level of respect for somebody who goes for it. And our boys just learned the phrase, fortune favors the bold. They ask about it every day, and they want to know what that means. But the respect that I have for watching someone hey, regardless of how much you crash and burn on it, if it does, worst case scenario, you crash and burn, you know what, you went for it.
Yeah.
And I've got respect for people that send it and say, hey, we're just gonna go for this thing. And there's something special about that I just wish, if I could just encourage you, if that is you now watching this, I'm not saying spend some time thinking about it. Don't just do something stupid here, but go for it, man. Go for it. If you spend some time doing it, there's fear, and fear is the only thing that's keeping you from going for something. Just send it, man. Go do it. I'm with you. Put something in the comment section, and I will be with you on this, because I just think we need more of that. Less fear,
more boldness
to send it. And you brought up a good point when we were talking about this, is not only does fear keep you from doing something, there are some cases, and this is so true with our boys, where fear is making you do something that you don't want to do. And that's the fear of not fitting in, the fear of not being accepted by people. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I think what this is like there's a healthy place for being. There are healthy fears. Yeah. Of spiders, specifically.
Specifically spiders.
Spiders and snakes. But there's a lot of really bad things that come out of fear. Yeah. And this being maybe one of the most dangerous ones. And we've talked to our boys extensively about this, the ability to make your own decisions. Yeah. And knowing that what people say about you does not define you. It does not matter. You need to, if you know what is right, you need to stand up for what is right. Yeah. And be able for yourself, but also for a lot of other people. Yeah.
I think also people, especially our generation, fear was used as such a big motivator for, us in life. And so you almost have this like weird tie to fear. You're like, wait, but I'm supposed to be afraid of certain things. I'm supposed to not do. I'm supposed to do when I have this like fear bubble up. It's like, we're going to discipline you from fear, And so when you're like afraid of something, it's almost like that gut reaction of like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be crossing that line, And so being able to almost like reevaluate that too, and to break free from that trauma and be able to say, no, I am afraid and I'm going to walk into the fear and I'm going to stare it straight in the eyes.
The face. Yeah. And that is such a cool thing. It's such a powerful thing. And man, I got so much respect for people that can do that. They can step into that place, step into the arena, and be the person that's going for it. Because at the end of the day, the people in the arena are doing the work. The people in the stands are watching. And guess what? They secretly just wish they were in the arena. Mm-hmm. So be that person. Send it. Stare it in the face.
Daily. Do it daily.
Do it daily. Grind daily. So that's us for today. Daily grind. Thank you for being here. Hope you took something from it.